we're back with another episode of Grow, Lead, Go. We're so glad that you're tuning in. By the way, thanks for everyone who's been supporting our podcast. It means the world to us when you share it. Thank you for all the generous messages that you've been sending to us of how this has been helping you, because this is for you. If you're a young adult, whether you're a college student or you're a young professional, whichever sector you're in, we really hope that this helps you grow in your leadership journey so that together we can lead others better and go and do what we're called to do. We dream to see a whole generation find purpose in community by raising up one leader at a time. Hey, I'm so excited for today's episode because I'm with one of the most loved. I've yet to meet a more personal, more intentional, and just a more relational leader than who we're with today. Can we all welcome Pastor Kate Aiton? She's a great preacher, our very own senior pastor. She's an amazing, just an amazing worship leader, amazing preacher, MC. Most of what I know, I got it from her and Pastor James.
Only the good things.
but I'm really pumped to have you here. Thank you for.
So honored to be here on the podcast.
Thank you for being here. It's a really special month because it's the month of February, and so that's why we're talking. The love month, exactly. And so for today's episode, we're actually entitled this: "What kind of leader do I need to be?"
Sure.
And so we're kind of transitioning into a more question type title.
Sure.
And that's what we'll talk about. And in the world there are many inspiring, authoritative, powerful, wise leaders. And I'm not saying you can't be one and not be the other.
Yeah.
But I think in our church especially and in our community, there's one type of leadership that you really model, and that's being a relational leader. And I think that's just who you are. So I want to talk about that today.
Sweet. Thank you. I don't know if I am, but I will take it. So thank you.
Yeah, you are super relational. So to start it off, why do you think, Pastor Kate, is it important to become a relational leader?
Why is it important? You know what? I think it's important mostly because Jesus was a relational leader. Jesus was, if that's who we're trying to be like, that's who we're trying to live our life to become like. He was the most relational. He had time for everyone. He had time for, I think of the kids, he said, let the kids draw near to me. He had time for, I always think about the Samaritan woman at the well. He went out of his way to talk to her. He hung out with his disciples. He ate with them. He, just did life with them. So why is it important for me to be a relational leader? Because I'm trying to be like Jesus in my life. Wow. And I feel like he modeled it.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to do that. So that's probably the most important reason why. Yeah, I think it's important.
Amazing. And in our church, and you model this, we always talk about people over process.
Try to.
Yeah. It's just amazing.
Of course, yeah.
I've heard this one quote where they said people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
True. I agree.
And so I think if you're watching this and you're not from the Christian world, it still applies to it in general.
Of course.
And then there's a study by some author before that he said the success of a person in whatever career that he's in, only 15% of that depends on their technical skills, and then 85% of it depends on how they relate to people.
And whether they can get along with everyone or, the impact that they have in the office or something. Yeah, I agree.
Amazing. Yeah. And Pastor Kate, in your leadership journey, how has being a relational leader helped you, and how have you seen the power of that?
Gosh, how has it helped me? I mean, I think the biggest thing for me when I think of how has it helped me is trust. People they will trust, they've trusted me more because I have, like you said, cared for them, got to know them, haven't just said one thing and then done another thing, or I've put the process over them. I've always tried to show them how much I care, how much I love them,
Amazing.
Invest into their life. And then what do I get back? I get trust. You get that type of like, yeah, actually she really cares for me. She's not just wanting me to do a job, or she's not just wanting me to, fulfill a role or something, but she genuinely cares about my life and cares about what, what's going on in my world. And so I feel like the biggest thing I've got back is trust. What was the other bit? The power of it.
Yeah.
The power of it is, I think the trust, and then the safety that people feel. They just feel safe when they're around you. Like you're not just gonna, I don't know, they get to know you. They get to know, like you've got to know me. It's a safe place, hopefully, when you're around me, and it's not like a random, she's going to be like this or she's going to be like that. It's just like, I know actually what she's like. So therefore I feel safe and I feel like trust as well. I don't know. Does that answer?
Yeah, super. Safety and trust. So. It's so countercultural to what
True.
I think the world expects leaders
True.
or sees leaders how they need to be like.
True.
I think sometimes we mistake leaders as just bosses.
Yeah.
That we need to
But there are
obey.
a lot of them.
Yeah,
there are a lot of people that are just in it for the work and the boss, and they really are just that. But I think, sorry to cut you off. I think that, I'm trying to be, obviously I'm a pastor, so it's a lot of having to be relational. We actually genuinely care about people. But I think, for instance, before I was in ministry, worked for 2 different companies, which I won't say in case they ever see this. But 2 different companies. One was a magazine, another one was like, I can't say. But the one with the magazine, she was a super relational leader, like super. And that's like a, not church, not ministry, but she was like, I'll never forget. Like she really cared about me. She was hilarious. Like shout out to Vicky if you ever watch this. She was just, I learned so much from her because she'd have clients and at Christmas time, we'd go around in the car and we'd take presents to all of her clients. She didn't have to do that. That's her own money. But that was super important to her because it was that relational, I care about you as my client, So she was modeling this when I was in my young 20s, I think. And I'll never forget it. And then I went to another company, which I won't say. But it was just a different type of, not necessarily bad, but it was just different. And so I think I'm like, when you think of a flag test, one of the motivators of my life is watching people. So I love watching people. I don't know if you guys, I love it. I could sit at a mall and just watch people for hours, which sounds very strange. But I watch in the sense of I watched Vicky and then I watched my other boss and I was like, that's what not to do. You don't treat people,
That's why you're not mentioning the company.
Exactly. No, and there was good aspects of his leadership. It was a lot of like, boss and, like what you were saying. But it's like if I look at the 2 of them, they're very like spectrum is so different that I was like, no, I want to be more like what Vicky was like. I want to be showing people that I care. I want to be, celebrating them as a person. And so I think you can learn from any boss. You can learn from anyone.
Exactly.
But I used to just, I guess, take that on.
It's almost like you can pinpoint which experience you enjoyed the most.
For sure.
Just by determining which one's more relational.
For sure. Yeah.
And there's power in like, there's obviously people that we need to respect and honor because of the authority that they carry.
Yes, and that's the testing thing when they actually don't deserve that, or they're hard to love or they're hard to, when you have a hard boss, I know there's people probably watching that have hard people to love or hard bosses to be under because maybe they aren't so relational. But I think that then you can look at it like a learning curve of going, you know what, I'm just going to really try and serve them well and try and do my job well and learn from that. And actually, what I was doing was, I didn't realize it at the time, but with this other one that wasn't as probably relational, I was learning, like, I don't want to be like that. I was thinking, like, genuine thoughts of, like, whenever I'm a boss, I'm not going to be like that. Like, I want to take, and then I would think of Vicky. I'm like, that, you remember she would do that, and that was for a magazine. Like, I'm now going to be a church pastor. Okay, I'm not going to be like that, and that. So it's, you can always learn from them whether they're being great relationally or not, but... Yeah, sorry, I'm hitting my rings. Yeah,
that's okay. Actually, my next question is: was there ever a person, which you kind of answered already, but was there, aside from Vicky, or if it's Vicky, it's Vicky, was there ever a person that like really modeled it for you, and then that made it click into you? Okay, that's exactly how I want to lead.
Yeah, for sure. First person that comes to my mind is my mom. So like, if you think, way back when, obviously when I was young, we would go to the shopping center, and my mom was a teacher. She's retired now, but was a teacher, and so we'd say a checkout chick in Australia. So that's where I grew up, Australia. So checkout chick, the person that scans all the items and pay them and stuff. Well, we call them checkout chicks. Anyway, she would. Just like, she'd always have time for everyone. She would be chatting to them, super personable.
Oh, wow.
Like super like relational. My mom, wasn't like a leader in the church, like nothing like that, or a boss in her. And she was a teacher, remember? So she was like relational, talking to these. I mean, she would have coffee she'd make friends with these ladies and then have coffee with them. And, things like that. I remember like her saying, oh yeah, I'm just about to have coffee with this. I'm like, but she's a checkout chick. How do you even know each other? Anyway, but I was thinking about, she actually was teaching me in those moments, obviously how to be like Jesus and how to love people, but also like how to be relational in any setting.
Amazing.
Right? So, and then fast forward to now, like, I've been married 12 years, and like, if it was to do with ministry, where have I learned that? Like, definitely James. Definitely James is a super relational leader. And so I've learned so much from him over the years of being married, of going, you know what, I just watch him and I'm like, wow, like, I don't know if I wasn't wired completely this way. I really had to learn and have to I was, but then intentional in the leadership type of thing of going, yeah, okay, I can see now how it can be intertwined into leadership. There'd be times like way back when James and I would both have to be worship leading. We're like, the countdown is going on and I'm like, James, get on stage. And he's just like, talking to people. And I'm like, don't leave me up here by myself, you've got like 3 seconds. But he was he's just wired that way of like, genuinely caring for people, genuinely remembering information or remembering people's names as much as, possible. Like that was a big thing for me, really wanting to remember people's names, remember information about them, not just to make myself feel better, but actually because that means something to someone. So yeah, my mom back in the day, like when I was a little kid, but then James so much now. I've learned so much.
Amazing. And Vicky.
And Vicky, somewhere in the middle, Vicky was a legend. Is a legend.
Such a testament of how, and you always say this, you and Pastor James say this, that much of leadership is not taught, it's caught.
For sure.
And so you caught that from your mom and from Pastor James. And for us, from people who just met you like in the past 5 years, we thought you were always like that. But there's learning about that.
The personality of my personality would be like friendly, I guess, like if you were to say outgoing. I think only in the lockdown did I realize I was somewhat introverted, and it was a big moment in our family. I was like, babe, I think I'm an introvert a little bit. Anyway, because I was happy to be by myself. But I really thought I was just 100% extrovert. Like I just love being around people. I guess it's friendly, but then I've just learned
Amazing.
A lot of how to that's okay to be a leader like that. It's okay to. I remember at our church before we moved to the Philippines, we were in Perth, Australia, amazing church. But one of the guys I worked with, he would always say to me, like I was full-time staff on church, and it would get to, I don't know, like 5 p.m. in the afternoon. He's like, have you even done any work yet, Kate? That's what he'd always say to me. And I'm like, stop it, either, because I knew what he was talking about. Every day he'd say it because I would spend so much time with the staff, just making sure like, yeah, how you doing? Not interrupting them, but getting a coffee with them, or, like setting up chairs with them, or just doing and building relationship. Anyway, he's laughing as he's walking out to go home. He's laughing at me going, well, have fun with your admin tonight, Kate. Because I never would have got to my admin because of just like, making sure other people were okay. Calls to people in the team, things like that. So, and then I'd have to, this was pre-kids, so it was totally fine. But I would just spend the next few hours either at church or at home, just actually catching up on admin. And then the next day I'd do it again. Like I just couldn't help but that was just, I guess, the way that I'm wired. I put that as a priority. So
I think we can attribute most of like how we grew as a church. We can attribute it to how relational you and Pastor James are as leaders, because like what you said, when people feel safe and when people trust you, I feel like that's when they're like, okay, I want to get on this boat. I want to participate. I want to
I guess
build
agreed.
this as well.
I guess agreed. The hand of God is on it as well.
Super.
Like, and you can't deny that. But then I think that was just, it had to be that way. Like, thank God we were both wired that way. And thank God for his grace for us to, I guess not just have that personality, but just have that gift to be able to, because that was, like I said, it builds trust. It builds like, I actually like being around these people, hopefully, and then it's like, I want to serve God alongside them. That's, I guess I agree.
And a common thread that I've been actually hearing recently is that people come in for the first time and what they say is, I feel like I found my family.
Great.
And that's like a huge like after effect of being a relational leader from the top to trickling down to everyone.
Great.
Do you think, Past, that people can grow into becoming a relational leader?
For sure.
Yeah. How do you think can people grow into it?
How could you grow into it? I mean, I don't think it's something that you could just go, I'm going to be,
on
a nice person. No, not nice. But, I'm going to like care about someone else today. But I think it's just, maybe making a decision that, that firstly, this is what Jesus wants me to be. He wants me to lay my life down every day. Because I think sometimes we're not as relational as we could be because we're so focused on ourselves. We're so like worried about our life, or we're so and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with with caring, like not worrying because we don't want to worry, but, but just thinking about what's going on in my own life, and actually dwelling on that. There's nothing, I guess, wrong with that. But it's like waking up in the morning and making a decision, you know what, even though, God, that's going on in my own life, I am going to cast my cares. I am going to just give that to you. It's a burden I don't really need to carry all day. Yeah. Therefore, allowing me to then focus on other people. Because I think the biggest times I've missed out on actually being relational is when I've had a bad day, and then I don't want to talk to anyone at church, or I don't want to talk to anyone at my workplace because, this has happened. And what happens? I mean, I go home grumpy, annoyed, and nothing's changed. Whereas the times that I've gone, I'm really sad, or I'm really broken, or really, I have a moment in my office or in the CR or something, and you just go, you know what? I just don't want this to rob me of the impact I could make on someone else. And that's the big thing for me. I always think in the morning, you know what? I want to make an impact, a positive impact on someone's life today. No matter what that is, whether it means like paying for the guy's water behind me at the grocery, or which is nothing, but it's like that means a lot to him. It's because it's like, hey, God loves you. Really? Like, okay, but, or if it's a big thing, but I just always think that way. Like I always want to make some type of, which means that I've then got to be outward focused. I've actually got to be thinking about others. And that's a big thing for me is like actually just, like let's live beyond ourselves. Let's like be a people, especially a favor movement that would go, you know what, even though this may be happening in my world, I've got people that will love me and walk through that and praying for me, but I'm going to make a decision every day that I'm going to live beyond myself. Therefore, that's a first step in taking to be, relational. Yeah. Because what's that mean? That means that you're going to build your relationship with someone that day, you're going to it's going to, what's the word? It's going to make someone's day. You could do something to make someone's day, whether if you were still feeling down or feeling sorry, and there's moments. That's the thing. I'm not sitting here saying, oh, don't have those moments, just put on a brave face. It's not that, but it's like, if that's the pattern in your life, which is like ongoing of like, I'm just day after day, like can't stop thinking of myself, Well, it's actually making a choice. You know what? I'm going to live beyond myself and start to make others feel safe and put my effort into other people.
I love that. Sometimes I think we overcomplicate what leadership is, but leadership at the core of it is about relationships.
Totally.
And as much as we need to be competent leaders, being a relational leader has to do more about our care for people than our competence. So I just loved what you said. When you're around Bess, there's a general feedback that I get is that people feel so loved and they feel valued. Even with when you say things to me, I feel so encouraged. I feel like, oh, that really spoke to me. How do you do that?
How do I do that?
Yeah.
I don't really know how I do that. I open my mouth. No, I think I just, like I said, I just want to make someone's day. Because I want that to be a pattern in my own life. Like I'm so aware of how selfish I am that I want to be I know that I'm selfish. I get told that
We all
by my
are.
husband. No, just kidding. I love you, babe. No. He's good. It's a good mirror. It's a good mirror to have. To have either a spouse or a close friend or your parent or someone that is close enough to you to say, hey, you're actually quite selfish, And so we've had many, many moments of that. So I am aware of that within me. And that is our nature, I guess, as human beings, to want it, me.
Super,
what can I get from me? What can I do?
Super.
So me. So I really want to be, or I've made a choice that I'm going to do that as much as possible. And I don't ever want to, like I said, about bad moods or something, I don't want that to rob me of opportunities to do that. So even when I guess I have encouraged, I want that to be a culture that I have. And I feel like it has been established within me that I've, I guess, missed out so many times of blessing someone with encouragement or, blessing someone with generosity or blessing someone in different things, that I don't ever want to do that again, because I know what the feeling is of walking away and going, that was a moment I could have actually lifted someone up. Or it doesn't have to be even someone I know. It just is someone that I'm like, you know what? And I remember someone just saying, you never know the type of day anybody's had, right? It's like, you just don't know. You don't know, we get angry sometimes, or I try not to. Yeah, but you get frustrated at waiters or waitresses. And we always say, at Favor, we want to make sure we, tip well and da-da-da. But it's actually like, you can't just walk into a restaurant and just expect, if they bring you the wrong meal or they do something, you can't just say, oh, I'm going to choose to not react. You just react, right? Yeah. Like, it's just that split reaction. This is a wrong meal. But it's like, no, if I'm going to create that culture of like, I don't actually want to get upset at them because I don't know the type of day they've had, then I've got to decide that back, a long way back before I can react nicely. So when they bring me the wrong thing now, I'm like, it is what it is, and if I send it back, they're probably going to pay for it. So I may as well pay for it. But there's other people I know that would say, they're living one way and then they'll react another way. And I'm like, oh, heck, like, I don't want to be like that. Yeah, I really don't. It's that same thing of like learning. And that's, that's their own journey. But it's like, I watch that and I go, okay. Like, we can't just say we're going to be a certain way and then act a different way. But so I'm just trying to cultivate that, I guess, that encouragement culture in my own life. And I've had many people like that. I've gone, wow, they've just like, it's like a spirit of encouragement on their life. Yeah. And they just speak like to the point where you're like, wow, you just, every time I see you, you have so much encouragement for me. But I realized like, that in my immaturity, I was like, what's wrong with it? Always, always saying nice things. But then I realized that this person actually has like a spirit of encouragement. Like that's a gift. Like it's like a gift of encouragement.
They cultivate it as well.
Yeah, but they've really worked on and I remember one person in particular, and he totally just was like such an encouragement. But I remember like our pastor saying, make sure it's not just like shallow encouragement. Make sure it's like encouragement with depth.
Good.
Because that will mean so much more.
Yeah.
And so that's what I've always hung on to that, going, you know what? I want my encouragement to be encouragement with depth in it. Not just like, wow, you look so nice today. And it's like, thanks, that, which still makes people's day. But it's like, actually, hey, when you did that, or like you emceed, wow, that was amazing. Like that really brought breakthrough, or, but it's
super.
Yeah. So
one thing I also noticed, Bess, is, so that's all amazing. But one thing I also noticed about you is that you're genuinely curious about other people. And I think that's a key to them feeling valued and feeling loved.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm like, okay. I don't know. Curious, is that a good thing? Curious George. I'm reading that to my son at the moment. Curious because I feel like I genuinely would like to get to know you. That's what and I know that not everyone's wired that way. There's a lot of people with different personalities that are like, we used to have before COVID season, but like a take two where you take 2 minutes to say hi to someone, in church, and people would run to the CR or like literally want to hide and die, in those moments. And I get that, but it's like, so I've had a friend that has come to our church way back in the musical, and she said she would die when we would say that. She was like, she goes, I'm 150% an introvert and you are killing me every time. And I used to laugh because I'm like, that's the opposite of me. I'd love to talk, I'm the one that's like, sit down, it's no time left. She's the other way. But, just from us doing that, cultivating that sort of like, that we want to be curious, that we want to get to know you, that if this is a family, well, you don't just not know who your cousin is. And if you don't, like, come on. Maybe send him a text, like send your uncle a text. I don't know, get to know them a little bit. But it's like she said after a while, like after we would push her to do it and she resisted going to the CR or something, she started to enjoy it. She actually started because she realized it wasn't so scary to just ask someone a question.
Super.
And that's all it is. Asking them a question. Ask them, how are you? Or, and hey, have we met before? Can you remind me of your name? Things like, like, how is your day? And it's like, it's very hard with the shield at the moment, of course.
Super.
But, in normal life, it's just asking some of those questions, which is like, hey, I'm curious. I want to get to know you because you're a person who God actually really loves. And if I say that I'm, a follower of Jesus, someone that loves Jesus, and I actually should be someone that,
Amazing.
would care to get to know you.
Yeah, super. I love that because I think this whole pandemic, what it really proved is that we're built for community.
For sure.
Because just how much people miss each
For sure.
other. And so if you're watching this and you want to be a leader or you want to have influence, the key to that is being genuinely curious about other people's lives because you can't build relationships without that. I talked about earlier, Pastor, I talked about leadership development, and that's one thing that we're really passionate about. And I think that's a great strength of being a relational leader is that it gives us an edge of like, okay, who can I develop in this team? I think the greatest nugget that I received recently about leadership development is just knowing and being secure in the fact that I'm not that good. And then I need a team.
But you are great.
Yeah.
But
I'm not that good. But I need a team. I need leaders.
Yeah,
and so I
know.
need them in my life. And I love the leaders I'm surrounded with. But my question for you is, how do you like build and maybe cultivate that kind of relationship when it comes to developing the leaders that you want to raise up?
So I guess because I'm just, I guess, wired this way, that when, the church that we were before here again, before we moved to the Philippines, my pastor is my brother-in-law. I love him to bits. He wanted me to run the worship team, and I'd never done that before. Be the worship pastor, do the singing and the music and everything, and lead these. And I was like, I love that you see that in me, but I don't know if I can do that. And he was so sweet and lovely and, and gentle, which I feel is, God sometimes, he's kind, but he's not soft. So it's like, I love you, but get on with it, like that type of thing. But he said to me, he's like, just be yourself, like as in like something around those lines. I paraphrase, but it's like, even if it's just you that turns up, Kate, that's okay, because you can sing and we'll get someone else to play piano with you. But he said, but when it comes to the team, be yourself. And people, like, invite people on the journey. So I just started to do, and James is obviously there to help me, like, babe, how do I do this? What do I do about this? How do I raise people? Okay, if that's what I'm going to do, I'm going to be myself. That's first and foremost, because people are attracted to authenticity and being genuine.
Great.
Like, I'm not going to just pretend that I'm someone that knows what they're doing, or because people can smell that a mile away, right? So I would just be myself. This is years ago, but I was determined to be myself first and foremost, and to just bring certain people along on the journey and empower them to do something.
Great.
So like I would do it with them. So like almost like showing them how to do it.
Amazing.
So say we had a team night and it was like, hey, hey, I'd call them, hey, can you come and help me set up the food? Sure, yeah, of course. But if I'd never asked them, they would never have come, right? So they come, but then I do the food with them because I'm not too big and mighty and, I'm a big leader. No, I had like a few in the team. So I'm like, let's do it together. And so we would chat while we were setting up the food. And then it's like the next person, hey, can you come and help me maybe put some decor up? And I do that with them. So what am I doing? I'm like relationally building a team around me because one, I know that I can't do it by myself at all, and wanted to do it the way that I guess my strength, which was being relational. But how would you do it if you weren't? I mean, that's where I would start to just work on that. How could I show them that I'm more relational? Is do it with them. You know, we want to equip people. You want to get in there. You want to like not just say, do this, do that, but be in there with them. Chat to them. How's your day gone? Da, 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 da. Not just give them some stuff to do and then you turn up and, you know, run the meeting. It's like, no, actually do it with them. Get to know them. And I think that, yeah, now fast forward to now, that's just how we run stuff,
Yeah,
you know,
super. And
like.
you have hundreds of leaders there.
And no one's, it's not one person's show. It's not like, you know, one person just the leader walks in. It's like, no, they're in there setting up chairs, you know, like we're all in there doing stuff.
Amazing.
And so, yeah, I think that's just, I can't remember the question.
It was how do
the
you build
team-
relationships when
Sorry.
you're developing leaders? And I love what you said.
How do you build relationships? Yeah.
Because
So just do it with them.
Yeah, you just said you be yourself. You just do it with them. You take them on a journey.
Yeah.
And I love how simple and how practical it is with how you explained it. Sometimes I think we really overcomplicate. Like, okay, so you want to develop leaders, you need to be like this, and then you need to teach them these 3 things.
But I don't
But I
think
love
there's a
what you said.
specific
Yeah.
like A plus B equals C with relational
Super.
leadership. Like
Amazing.
maybe with different aspects, other
Technical stuff.
technical,
Yeah.
you know, we've got to equip them with the right things to do, you know, like if that's another side. But this is like, I don't want to have strangers on my leadership team,
Amazing.
right?
That's a great thought.
And if you do, that's very strange. But, you know, or that's where you just run I mean, definitely wouldn't, I hope it wouldn't be a church, but that might just be like an everyday company. That you would have strangers on your leadership. But even then, a company, like a boss, would still probably want to take their leaders or their, you know, execs out to dinner.
Super.
Why? Because they all want to chat about maybe something other than work.
Yeah.
You know, maybe family or future or things like that, right? So even I feel like everyone's got a little bit of that relational, but definitely in church we have to go for it. Yeah.
Super. I remember this one leader, he's, I think, Mervyn Davis, who used to like manage the whole Standard Chartered, one of the biggest banks.
Wow.
And people know that leader because of how relational
Wow.
he was and how people really enjoyed
That's
their
cool.
time
Yeah.
with the bank. Which
With
is
the
like,
bank.
Yeah,
Yeah,
which is
so
like
it slowed down.
Super, yeah. And it's like
Wow.
the least company you least expect relational leadership to be in. But
Yeah.
they loved the leadership because
Which means
he was
that it can be
relational.
any
Anywhere.
company,
Yeah, super.
anywhere. Yeah.
Super.
Yeah. Well, that's
Yeah,
cool.
love it.
That's awesome.
One of the things that I also got from you guys is that being a relational leader doesn't just mean that you're relational with the people that you're leading,
Mm-hmm.
but you're being relational holistically in your life,
Mm-hmm.
which means that you're relational with your peers and
Mm-hmm.
the ones who are leading you. And one thing that we're really passionate about and in our church is just being accountable
Yeah,
to people. I
for
know
sure.
Pastor James mentioned once,
For sure.
accountability is not control, it's protection.
Yeah, for sure.
And so
for
can
sure.
you speak a little bit about that?
I think it's very important. I mean, like I said, I've been married for 12 and a half years now. So I've always had James as my accountability for as long as I can remember before
You can
then.
hear deep sighs from from this side.
Again, I love you, babe. Yeah, no, but I've really had him as my main person that I would be accountable with and get, like I said, mirror moments. Hey, how am I doing in this? And he would give me very, you would know, blunt feedback on, you know, hey, this is probably, you know, put some boundaries up with, like, you're being too relational, like, or you're getting too involved, or hey, they're being a bit frenzy, like, as in you're actually still the leader, Kate, you know, things like that. So he'd give me great, but yeah, I think it's really important. So for my own life, yeah, I've got him and I've got another, you know, great friends that I would talk to. They can handle me. I've got 3 really great friends that different times of my ministry, I was still leading them, but they were still able to be very close friends, which I think is really special.
Yeah.
But yeah, for anyone, I believe that we definitely need to have accountability. But I understand sometimes why it's hard because it's trust. It's like it's trust,
super.
and you've got to. You got to listen, you know, you got to get feedback. You got to be like, hey, that wasn't cool the way you treated that person. Or you got to be ready to hear that. And we're not always ready to hear that as human beings. We're quite defensive. Well, I responded like that because da-da-da. No, it's actually, no, I've got to take it. Because if I've asked you to be my accountability or person or, you know, I've asked you to speak into my life, which, find someone, if you're watching, find someone that you can trust, maybe even a step further. They don't have it. That's not in age. That's just even in like leadership ability. Find someone that's maybe a step ahead of you. If you're a Christian, find someone that's maybe just a little step ahead of you in their walk with Jesus, in faith, and, so that there's that going, hey mate, or hey girl, that wasn't cool the way that, you treated that person, especially wanting to like relationally grow, that you just walked past 10 people and never saw any of them. We always say, especially in church, like eyes wide open, no one alone. Like we always used to say that, we'd pray at the beginning before church starts, and it's like eyes wide open, no one left alone. And I, to this day, will obviously stand by it forever, because it's like, our focus should, like my head should always be up. I should always be looking around, eyes wide open, no one left alone. So I think, accountability will just bring that person to come in and go, hey, that wasn't so relational. That's not a great way to be, like that, and just be ready to hear back feedback.
Exactly. And
does that answer it?
Yeah, super. And you can't deal what you don't like reveal to other people. And so
totally. And sometimes we just don't know.
Yeah,
like you just don't know that you come across like that. It's like, why doesn't anybody want to follow me? Well, you're a jerk. No, but like you're not treating people. You're actually not nice, or you say everything and it comes off sarcastic, or you act like you say this but then you act like that. That's the type of thing that it's like you get that response only if you open yourself up to accountability.
We all have blind spots.
For sure. But if you don't want to open yourself up to accountability, then get ready for...
Good luck.
Yeah, good luck. And get ready for maybe not many people to follow you, unless you're very dysfunctional and... Yeah,
I love that. Because it's kind of related to what I'm about to talk about next, is because when you're a relational leader, I think the influence kind of just follows naturally. And just like with how you and Pastor James lives, you guys are very relational leaders. And like for you personally, people are drawn to you. And so we just have a question about how do you balance, like,
we
and the team, how do you balance like being close with people, right? And being friends with everyone, but still like being intentional with some. Because of your influence and because of naturally a leader's influence, people would want to become close with you, but the reality is you can't be best friends with everyone.
For sure.
And so how do you balance that?
I think I would say still learning to do that. And not that I've made big mistakes of like, that I could tell you like, oh, there was times where I shouldn't have been like that, or not big mistakes, but just awareness. I think awareness. You just have an awareness of maybe what people can handle as well, and whether they should be, whether they can handle my personality and having a great time, and then also be able to switch and listen to if I had a direction. Like not everyone can do that, and that's okay. Not everyone is going to be the closest to you in the sense of being leaders under you, or I mean, there would be people that I wouldn't maybe. Like I guess it's like a tree, if you're in the center and then it's like you have the rims around the tree, you have those people like the old school kind of like, who do you let in your circle, but it's really true. It's like James sees the complete, version of who I am. But then the next one is probably my kids, and then close people, and then probably, staff. And then, because it's like not everybody should see the Kate that James or the kids see. That's the relationship with a spouse, or that's it. And so then it's the I don't know, the tree. I always just think of the tree like who are you letting in? You don't need 20 people to be in the center. You just need a few, and those trusted people, 3 or 4 around, going, what, they can handle this. And over time, maybe just seeing, it's not like you're keeping yourself secret, secret parts of you, but it's actually just like, maybe some people can't handle it, and being aware of that and being like, oh, that's okay. Like, I thought they might be able to, but that's okay. They just can't handle it. Maybe because we did get a bit two friends, and then I asked them to do something and they couldn't do it from a leadership perspective, me being their leader. So that's okay.
Yeah.
That doesn't disqualify them. That just means they've moved to a different part of the
Super.
circle, which is okay.
And it's almost like you're even protecting them
Oh,
from
no,
like,
for sure. Yeah. And that would be wrong of me not to.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like
exactly.
to put that going, hey, I put you in this circle, because I know that you can handle it. I'm just
Super.
going to keep, showing you and stuff. And yeah, if they can't do it, then it's just going to be a mess. So yeah, it's not like you then go, well, you're out there. Like you don't make it weird. Or they don't really know, but it's just like within yourself, you're like, hang on, I
just
actually
being
know
wise
who
as
should
well.
really be
Yeah.
the ones that, or who can handle it. Yeah.
I think it was you, Pastor James, who said, you need people who can handle your humanity, but still respect your leadership
Yeah, for
on
sure.
them. And so
For sure. Yeah.
I think
That
that's,
sounds
that's
like
really
him.
powerful.
It's very wise.
Super, super powerful. I think what you really model, Pat, is like you connect with everyone, but you still intentionally spend time with people that you want to invest in, like, and the people who need it and who can handle it.
Yeah,
And so
okay.
that says
That's
a lot.
so-
I think that's really nice.
I'm glad.
What I literally loved what you said about eyes wide open, no one left
yeah.
alone, because it really resonates with what we're currently trying to fight against, which is the clique culture
Yeah,
that's just happening I think in every sphere, but especially in church. That's when where we really need to cancel that culture, because eyes wide open, no one left alone.
Yeah,
And so
but
I
people
really,
are.
yeah, but people are, and so
Yeah.
it's just. I think I love what you said, that you're constantly still learning it, because we're all in a journey, and so I just love that humility from you.
Yeah. But I think we have to be, when you say click culture, it immediately, we have to be so intentional with being inclusive with people. And that's where, I
amazing.
mean, when you think of relational, you think inclusive, right?
Yeah,
Like it's
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
no, I'm talking to these 3 people and you're out there. Like, no, we don't do that. It's like,
Yeah.
come, hey,
Super,
wait,
super.
come sit with our group. Or like,
Yeah.
those movies where they're in the, the dining hall at American. No, you can't sit here. Go sit by
cafeteria,
yourself. Yeah, the
super.
cafeteria
The
one.
Cobra Kai.
I always think of that. But it's true. It's like, want to be inclusive. Want people to feel like, I don't just care about you 3, but I care about, what do you have? What do you?
yeah, that's
And so
the
I
heart
think
of
in
it.
our day and age, it's like, our day and age, that sounds so proper. But social media is the worst, like, it's the worst thing that can happen. It has happened. It's
tell me
great. It's
about
great.
it.
Don't hear me
Yeah.
wrong. But
No,
it's
it's
the worst
amazing.
thing
Yeah.
because we can post pictures and then people automatically see that they weren't in that,
Yeah,
right? So what was just meant to be a dinner or even a birthday party or something where you would never have maybe known, or you'd heard through the grapevine, oh, yes, I didn't get invited, shame. But now it's like blasted that night, a few minutes later, or during, someone goes live during, and it's like, oh gosh, what have we done to one another that we've actually made it so obvious that you're now excluded, or it's so obvious that you don't fit in. And that's like the opposite of, I believe, the heart of God, which is like,
Super.
everybody
Yeah. Oh, that's
is
a great
deserving of
thought.
my love and my grace and my
Super, super.
forgiveness. So why would we want to be anything but that? So I am like so passionate about that. I'm
Super,
so
me too, me
passionate
too.
because it's no way do I want anyone to ever leave. Like if they ever to come to favor talking about church and leave going, oh, I just didn't feel like I fit in.
Wow. Yeah.
No, like that breaks my heart. Yeah,
Yeah.
if that ever.
We
said-
say in the favor movement, we're involved and we're inclusive.
Yeah.
And so we're not just
Yeah.
involved, but you're including other people. I love what
And-
you said
yeah.
about social media. We're not saying that you can't celebrate with other
Oh, no,
people and
for
post
sure,
about
yeah.
it, but like it's just being wise with like
Yeah.
you celebrate with 5, and then there's like 30 people who felt like, oh, I wasn't invited, and so it's just being
Yeah, hashtag best friends, hashtag,
hashtag best friends.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, when we were, James and I, when we stepped into, we were youth pastors, we just were aware, like, you just have to have such an awareness. If you're wanting to be a leader of any, whether an okay leader or a great leader, you just have to know that it comes with sacrifices. And,
Yeah.
and some of those sacrifices include, maybe you actually can't post.
Yeah, super.
Like certain things, or also not everybody needs to see all aspects of your life. Sorry, I just wanted to say that. Keep some for especially if you're looking for a spouse. I feel like everything is out there now. Like
my goodness.
what's left to the imagination anyway?
Oh, my
Bring me back,
goodness.
Paul, for a relationship one. I'm happy to do
No,
it.
yeah, it's super. Be wise with what you're posting.
But it's sacrificing as
Yeah.
a leader. And I remember James and I doing that when we were youth pastors, that it's like we won't be able to like just do certain things or just hang out with these 6 people,
Yeah.
or like we actually have to give that up because of what we're wanting to create here. Wanting to have a great youth
Love that.
leadership team or young adult team or church leadership
Yeah.
team now. So
Yeah, I love
Yeah.
that. Be wise about what you're posting. But if it's your connect group, post about it.
of course, it's just be social distance. And
Just be social
at the moment,
distanced and with
yeah,
mask
yeah, yeah.
and face shield.
No,
if
but
it's
of
your meeting
course, yeah.
physically.
Favorite moment, post about that.
One last question, Pass. If you're a young adult leader in the year of 2021, what advice would you give yourself to become a better relational leader?
What advice would I give myself?
Even just a one sentence there.
I guess what I said at the beginning, I think, is just really be intentional to live beyond yourself. Like, come on, Kate, like actually make a decision
wraps it up.
in the
Amazing.
morning that even though you're going through stuff and even though that seems very, very hard and very large, make one decision like every morning to just go, you know what, I'm going to live beyond because I love Jesus so much that maybe I could just show his love to someone today.
Wow.
And, you know, without preaching at them, I could actually show them what it means to be a follower of Jesus. So that's what I would say to myself.
That is so powerful, along with all the
I hope
wise
that's
things.
okay.
Yeah, super.
You're a great
Thank you.
interviewer, Paul.
Thank you very much,
I
Pastor
feel like
Kate.
we should get Paul on the hot seat. Right? Yeah.
That's very
We'll
generous
get someone
of
to.
you.
I don't want to interview you, but we'll find someone. You're next. I think you should
But
be
thank
next.
you, thank you
for
so
having me.
much,
Thanks,
Pastor
guys.
Kate.
Love you all.
Thank you everyone for tuning in. Don't you love? I really love that. Just some next steps that you can answer on your own time, so that we can have some practical application to what you just learned. Hey, ask yourself this question: who can help you grow in your leadership journey? Like, think about someone that, like Pastor Kate said, someone who's maybe ahead of you in the journey that can really help you, that you can open up with, that you can trust and be safe with, so that you could grow in your walk. What can you do to encourage who you're leading? Like, what can you do today or tomorrow, that when you wake up, that you can decide and live beyond yourself? I really love that. And lastly, who do you need to invest more time with? In our movement, we're passionate about developing leaders, about raising up other people, championing other people's strengths. So who can you develop? Who can you invest more time with? Hope you enjoyed this month's episode of Grow, Lead, Go. Remember, the best leaders always ask what's best for the team and not what's in it for me. Share this podcast to someone you know and talk to them about what you learned. Hope you enjoyed this. See you next month on Grow, Lead, Go.